So welcome everyone to electronic filing training for the California courts. My name is George Connect and I am with Green Filing. We are one of the certified e-filing service providers for the Los Angeles County civil e-filing implementation and also for those courts participating in the Odyssey e-file California system. We're going to go over that a little bit more here at the beginning of the webinar. Before we get started though, let's go over just a few housekeeping notes. One, this webinar is accredited for 1 hour of CLE. What will happen is about 1 hour after this webinar ends, you're going to receive an email. That email will contain your certificate of attendance. So be on the lookout for that. If for any reason you do not receive it, let me know and we'll make sure that you get a copy. The length of the webinar is an hour. We do tend to go over the hour, 5, 10, 15 minutes, answering questions, showing you some additional features of the system. If you have to exit the webinar right at the end of the hour, that's perfectly fine. You'll still get your certificate of attendance. But if you can hang out a bit longer, we'd love to have you hang out as well. If you have any questions throughout the webinar, feel free to ask them. You can use the questions box in the GoToWebinar control panel to submit your question at any time. However, we will wait until the end of the hour to answer your questions, just to make sure that we cover all the material that we need to cover today. I also want to let you know that after the webinar, I'm going to be emailing you a copy of this slide deck presentation and also written answers to any questions submitted throughout the webinar. So be on the lookout for that email as well. I usually send it within about 24 hours of today's webinar. If you don't get it, let me know and we can make sure we get you those. All right, so here's what we're going to do today. First, I'm going to give you a really brief overview of what's going on in California in terms of electronic filing. I want to make sure that you're aware of the differences between the Los Angeles County civil e-filing implementation and those courts participating in the Odyssey e-file California e-filing implementation. Then we're going to spend the rest of our time actually showing you how to e-file. We're going to use Green Filing. Make sure that we can create an account and configure it to begin filing. And then we'll do some filing demonstrations, both how to file a brand new court case and how to file new documents on an existing court case. And then at the end, we'll go ahead and answer any questions you all have submitted. So let's start by talking about what exactly is going on in California in terms of electronic filing. So you may or may not know that each court or county has the ability to implement e-filing in the manner that they choose. Some courts have chosen what we call a single vendor e-filing model. That is, they've chosen a particular vendor to provide them the software they need to receive and process your electronic filings, and then they force you as the filer to use that same vendor to e-file into that court. An example of this right now is San Diego County. There's only one service provider you can use to e-file into San Diego County. Other courts have chosen what we call a multiple vendor e-filing model, and those are the courts we're going to talk about today. The Los Angeles County civil e-filing implementation has chosen a multiple vendor e-filing model, and those courts participating in the Odyssey e-file California system have chosen a multiple vendor e-filing model. In these instances, the court has chosen a particular vendor to provide them the software they need to receive and process your electronic filings, but then they've certified multiple e-filing service providers, like Green Filing, so that you, as the filer, have choice in terms of which service provider you'd like to use to file into that court. And we see lots of advantages to that, different features the vendors offer, different support options, things like that. So for Los Angeles County Civil, they've chosen a multiple vendor e-filing model, where on the court's end, the software is provided by a company called Journal Technologies, and then they've certified multiple e-filing service providers. Green Filing is one of those. So you can choose any of the service providers to e-file into Los Angeles County civil cases. As you know, civil limited e-filing began in Los Angeles County on November 13th. On Monday, civil limited e-filing becomes mandatory. Also on Monday, civil unlimited case e-filing begins in Los Angeles County. And then those cases will become mandatory on January 2nd, 2019. And that will also include the complex civil litigation cases. We do believe that other courts or counties in California will also choose Journal Technologies as their software provider on the court's end, which means that when those counties become available, then if you're using a service provider like Green Filing, they'll automatically become available for e-filing through your service provider as well. So Riverside County, San Bernardino County, those are counties we expect to utilize this software as well. The Odyssey e-file California courts are also a multiple vendor e-filing model. These courts have chosen a vendor called Tyler Technologies to provide them the software they need to receive and process your electronic filings, and then also certified multiple service providers like Green Filing. So there are 24 counties or courts currently under contract to participate in the Odyssey eFile California system. 20 are live today, at least 10 have implemented mandatory e-filing in at least one case type. And again, we do expect more courts to sign on with Tyler Technologies and the Odyssey eFile California system as well. And as they do, those courts automatically become available for electronic filing if you're using a service provider like Green Filing. So to give you an idea of those courts, just throwing up this chart here of active e-filing courts. On the left-hand side, we have the county or the court name, the right-hand side, the scope of their implementation thus far. So you can see counties like Alameda, their scope is limited right now. It's just permissive e-filing in the criminal and the family juvenile case types. But other counties like Santa Clara are mandatory e-filing across the board, civil, family, and probate. You'll also notice on here, Los Angeles County is mandatory e-filing in the probate case type under the Odyssey eFile California system. We're going to talk a little bit more about how Los Angeles County is unique in just a moment. On courts coming soon to this system, Los Angeles County is going to be adding the family court case type. That's actually going to go live, we believe now, in the first quarter of 2019 as permissive, and then will go mandatory shortly thereafter. Alameda County, we're expecting them to add the civil, family, and probate case types in 2019. And San Diego County, we expect to be transitioning from their current single vendor e-filing model over into the Odyssey eFile California system. So that would make them now a multiple vendor e-filing model and add their civil, family, and probate cases in 2019. So we're looking forward to that so that you can use more than just one service provider to e-file into San Diego. Now, I mentioned Los Angeles County is a bit unique. That is because in Los Angeles County, they utilize a different case management system in the civil case type than they do in the probate and family court case types. And as a result, they've decided to implement e-filing slightly different in the civil case type than they have in the probate and family court case type. So in civil cases, they're utilizing software provided by Journal Technologies, whereas in probate and family, they're utilizing software provided by Tyler Technologies, part of the Odyssey eFile California system. So if you have a need to file in multiple case types in California, in Los Angeles County, you have to choose a service provider that will allow you to file in each of the case types. So Green Filing, as an example, is a service provider that you can use to e-file into civil, family, and probate case types because we're certified in the Odyssey system and with the LA civil case type. If you've been participating in e-filing throughout the state using the Odyssey e-filing system, that system will not be able to e-file into Los Angeles County civil cases. So you'll be able to file into any of those other Odyssey courts, but not civil cases. You'll need to choose a service provider that's been certified in both LA civil and in the Odyssey system if you want to be able to file in both areas. I'm not sure a lot of you out there have that need, but I think it's useful to be aware of that. So Green Filing is one of those providers. There are others where you can e-file into both Odyssey courts and into LA civil cases. So that's a little bit of background of kind of how we got to where we are today in terms of how the courts are implementing electronic filing. I just want to spend another moment pointing out some resources available to you so that you can take advantage of those as you begin to participate in electronic filing. The first thing I want to point out is that each individual court's website can be a very valuable resource to you. For Los Angeles County, it's lacourt.org. You're going to find all the information about e-filing on their site. For any of the courts participating in the Odyssey eFile California system, you would use their websites as well to visit those. So I'm going to point out why those are why each court's website is a good resource here in just a moment. I also want to point out the Odyssey eFile California website. And then point out California Rules of Court Chapter 2, Filing and Service by Electronic Means, and also Civil Code of Procedure 1010.6. These are the statewide court rule and governing law over electronic filing. So obviously you're going to want to be very familiar with that as you begin to participate in electronic filing. So let's jump out of this PowerPoint for a moment, and I'm going to start by visiting lacourt.org. So I mentioned that each individual court's website can be a valuable resource to you in terms of electronic filing. The reason for this is just because two courts have implemented e-filing doesn't mean that they've done it exactly the same. Each court may have different policy, procedure, local rule as it relates to e-filing. And the best way to know about the differences between those courts is to visit each individual court's website and look up information regarding e-filing. Just because you've been e-filing in, say, Santa Clara County doesn't mean that in Los Angeles County, they're going to do things exactly the same way. And so if you've been filing in Santa Clara County and now you want to file in Los Angeles County, it's a good idea to get familiar with any local rule, policy, or procedure that Los Angeles County has adopted regarding e-filing. And just to use their website as an example, if we click on this e-filing tab, and any court that's implemented e-filing is going to have a similar tab to this, this will take you to a page that has some information specifically related to electronic filing. So in Los Angeles County, they have a tab for each case type. We're looking at civil e-filing. On the right-hand side, they provide some information about their implementation dates. And then they've chosen to publish FAQ documents regarding e-filing. So this civil e-filing FAQ document is going to provide a lot of information about the policy procedures that LA has adopted. Information about electronic service, about courtesy copy, about ex parte filings, things like that. We don't have time through this webinar to go through this in detail, but I want to make sure you're aware of where you can find this information. Also available here is a general order regarding mandatory electronic filing for civil. You'll want to be familiar with this. This is the order that's basically giving some guidelines regarding e-filing in civil and setting the mandatory dates, things like that. So this is valuable to you as well. If we were to look at, say, probate, we can click on the probate case type, and then you'll see information regarding probate e-filing. Whoops, I meant to click on the FAQs document under probate. So here's your probate case type. So I'm really just pointing this out so that you know each individual court is going to have information on their website regarding e-filing specific to that court's implementation. So if you've not been familiar with e-filing in a particular court, you want to make sure that you get familiar with that information because they may or may not do things exactly the same way that you've been used to filing. The next website I just want to show you quickly is the Odyssey eFile California website. This is a website put together by the courts vendor, Tyler Technologies, for those courts participating in this system. On this website, on the left-hand side, you can see there's a list of all the courts participating in the system. On the right-hand side, you can see a link here to view all the certified e-filing service providers. At the top, we have an active courts tab. This is kind of nice because it breaks down by county and by case type if e-filing is permissive or mandatory in that particular court. So a good resource for you in terms of knowing what courts are available for e-filing and in what case types. There's also an FAQs page here. A lot of these FAQs apply to e-filing sort of across the board, so I encourage you to become familiar with these as well. So lots of good information available on this website. Finally, I want to point out California Rules of Court. If we scroll down here to Division 3, Filing and Service, Chapter 2, Filing and Service by Electronic Means. This is the statewide court rule governing electronic filing. So we'll want to be familiar with this if we're participating in e-filing. If you open up any section of this rule, you're going to notice there's quite a few references to Code of Civil Procedure 1010.6. So if we go to Code of Civil Procedure 1010.6, notice that we see the term electronic in here quite a bit. So both the rule and 1010.6 provide a lot of information about what's necessary in terms of electronic filing. So you'll definitely want to become familiar with these, the court rule and the civil code of procedure as you begin to participate. So once again, just wanted to make sure that you're aware of kind of the background of how e-filing has occurred throughout California, and then these resources that are available to you. I think that provides a little bit of context into what we're going to do throughout the rest of the webinar, which is show you how to e-file. So that's what we're going to do for the rest of our time, actually show you how to e-file. I want to start by, well, first of all, we're going to use Green Filing as our e-filing service provider and kind of show you how to do this. I'm going to show you how to set up an account and make sure it's configured so that you can begin filing. We'll show you how to file a brand new court case. We'll show you how to file new documents on existing court cases, how to monitor your filing status both through email notifications generated by the system and through the application itself. And then we're going to look at some other features of the system, user preferences, reporting, things of that nature. So what we're going to do is I'm going to jump back out of this PowerPoint again, and I'm going to start by visiting greenfiling.com/Los Angeles. This is our webpage specific to our service in Los Angeles County civil cases. Lots of good information on this page. Encourage you to check it out. We have some excuse me, we have some information about all the features that our service provides, some testimonials, some FAQs, things like that. The thing that I will specifically say about Green Filing is we believe we're the fastest, easiest e-filing service provider in California. Our system is designed to be a single screen e-filing interface that just dynamically updates in order to collect the information we need from you in order to submit your filing to the court. We also provide 24/7 support by email, by phone, and by live chat. You can see our phone number is available, very easy to find here in the center of the screen, and live chat is always available in the lower right-hand corner of the screen. And of course, you can always email us at support@greenfiling.com. If you're ready to get started, it's very easy to do so. It just takes 2 minutes to create an account. Then you can log in and you're off and running. So to do that, we're just going to click the sign up button in the upper right corner of our website. This is going to take you to our new sign up screen. Now, before I jump into these demonstrations, let me also just take note that what I'm going to show you today, I'm going to focus my demonstrations mostly on Los Angeles County civil e-filing because most everybody in the webinar today is most interested in that. But if you are interested in e-filing and other case types in other counties, I want you to know that the processes we're going to go through today are almost identical. Using the software to submit your filings to the court are very similar no matter which court you're filing in. So anything we show you today, just because it's focused on Los Angeles County Civil, really does apply to the other courts and counties as well. All right, so the sign-up process is pretty self-explanatory, so I won't spend too much time on it. You're just going to enter your email address, make up a password and a security question on this screen. You'll click Continue to Step 2. And in Step 2, we're just going to collect your account contact information, so name, firm name, address, phone number, things like that. You'll then go ahead and submit your registration. And once you submit your registration, we're going to send you an account activation email. So you're going to want to look for that account activation email. Click the link in that email to activate your account. That'll redirect you to the login screen, and then you're off and running. Now, a couple notes about that. One, if you do not receive that account activation email within a few minutes of signing up, don't wait around for it. That probably means it got caught up in a spam filter or something like that. Go ahead and reach out to us. You can call us, use the live chat on our website, and we'll help you access your account or manually activate your account. Also, if you've been participating in electronic filing throughout the state, particularly if you've been e-filing into the Odyssey eFile California courts, there's no reason to create a brand new account here. All you have to do is go to our login screen and log in with your same email address and password that you've been using on the other service providers, and then we're able to import your e-filing account information into the system. So there's no need to register for a new account with us. It is a single sign-on system, so once you sign in with any other service provider, you can sign in with Green Filing, and then you can continue the filing process. So just be aware of that if you're looking to e-file using Green Filing as a service provider into LA County civil cases. All right, so I'm going to actually navigate out here to our test system, and once you've clicked that account activation link in your email, that's going to redirect you to the account login screen. And like I said, I've navigated out here to our test system. That way I can do some test filings or some real filings and not submit them to the live courts. We can submit them to the test system. I've already created an account on this system as a law firm account. I've added several attorney users to it and support staff users. So I'm going to go ahead and log into this account as one of my support staff users. So this would be like a paralegal or a legal secretary, and kind of show you the system from that perspective. So we put in our email address and password, and we'll go ahead and click Login. Now, once you've logged in, we're going to land on what we call our system dashboard. And before I jump into any specific demonstrations, let me just kind of give you the overall layout of the application. So on the dashboard here, down the left-hand side, we have some quick links to jump into different tasks, quick links to different help articles. We always post our system status on the dashboard as well. On the right-hand side, we have some information regarding our account activity, which we'll talk a little bit more about here in a bit. This area that I'm currently on the dashboard and I'm highlighting here, this would be considered the main content area of our site. As we navigate around, this is where the content's going to change and where we're going to be doing the bulk of our work. In the upper left, we have our main navigation tabs. Currently, I'm on the e-filing tab. So then down the left-hand side, I get sub-navigation related to e-filing. So I see things like initiate a case or file an existing case. Let's look at filing status. Or I have quick links to different cases that I can that I've been looking at or filing on. If I change to settings in the main navigation, then down the left-hand side, I have sub-navigation related to my account settings. If I go to reports, then I get the different reports down the left-hand side. So pretty self-explanatory. Main navigation at the top, sub-navigation down the left-hand side. If I click the support tab up at the top here, this actually launches a new browser tab and takes you to our support website. We have all kinds of help articles on this website talking about how to do things, certain things in the system. You'll also see that you can search through these help articles here at the top. You'll also find a contact us section here with our phone number and email address. And you can always use the live chat support in the lower right-hand corner. So all of these support channels are available to you, live chat, email, phone, or the knowledge base to find the answers you're looking for. If you close this tab, you're right back to the application. And I do like to point out that the live chat support is always available in the lower right-hand corner of the screen. So you could be right in the middle of a filing, have a question about what it is you're trying to do, and there'll be a chat agent there to assist you. All right, so now that we have the overall layout, let's go ahead and jump into some specific demonstrations. The first thing I want to show you is how to file a brand new court case. So you'll notice on the dashboard there's a section here that says start a new filing. And then it says if you are new to the system, be sure to complete the following tasks. The first task is to add a payment account. If I were to click on initiate a new case and I didn't have a payment account added, the system would actually prompt me to add one. Obviously, if I'm filing a brand new court case, there's going to be court filing fees involved. So I have to have a method available to me in order to pay those filing fees. So again, if I click initiate a new case and I didn't have one, the system would actually prompt me to add one. So I land here on our settings and payment settings screen, and I get a dialog to add a payment account. There are three types of payment accounts: credit card, waiver, and e-check. Let me first describe to you what a waiver payment account is. Waiver payment accounts are what you would use if you're going through the filing process and you're presented fees, but you believe you do not need to pay those fees. Maybe you're a government entity who doesn't pay court filing fees, or maybe your client's already been granted a waiver of court filing fees. In those instances, you might be presented fees, but what you're going to do is say, I'm going to take care of those using my waiver payment account. In order to do that, you need to create a waiver payment account. And so to do that, we're just going to go ahead and select waiver. And then I recommend just giving it a nickname of waiver as well. Click save. And now you'll have a waiver payment account available to you to select during the filing process. So we land here on our payment settings screen, and we see that that waiver payment account has been added. From this screen, you can add, edit, delete payment accounts. So for example, I have two waivers here. I really only need one. So I'm just going to click delete and confirm, and that'll get rid of one. You're also likely going to want to add a credit card or an e-check payment account as well. So very easy to do that from this screen. You'll just go ahead and click on add a payment account. This time we'll select the payment account type of credit card. We can give our credit card a nickname. So maybe this is my Wells Fargo Visa card. And then you can fill out your credit card information. We've all done this a million times on the internet, so I won't bore you by doing it again, but you're just going to enter your credit card information, and then we'll click save, and you would land back on our payment settings screen and see now that your credit card's been added. If you're adding an e-check, again, you can come here and just select e-check. And so then rather than having credit card info, we're just going to fill out our bank account info. Is it checkings or savings, account number, routing number, name on the account. You can also give it a nickname. So whether you're adding e-check or credit card, very similar process. We'll click save here, and we'll notice our e-check has been added. I do recommend going ahead and adding an e-check, a credit card, and a waiver payment account into your account. That way, when you're going through the filing process, depending on what you're filing, you have all three available to you and can choose the one that you would like to at that time. All right, so now that we have a payment account available, I'm going to click Return to Dashboard. And you'll notice the next step here is to add a filing attorney. Now, if you're logged in as an attorney, obviously you can file on your own behalf, so you may be able to skip this step. I currently am logged in as a support staff user, so I'm like a legal secretary or paralegal. In order for me to be able to file, I have to have an attorney available for me to file on behalf of. If I were to click initiate a new case and I didn't have one, then the system would prompt me to add one. So I'll land here on our manage users screen, and notice I get a dialog here to add an attorney. So very easy to add an attorney. I can just put their bar ID into this field here. And this actually does a lookup of all attorneys in California to grab any matching attorneys. And then you can select the attorney you want to add. That will then pre-fill most of their information. You can edit whatever you'd like here. You can go ahead and put in their email address. Confirm the rest of their information. And then you have some options. One, you can make this attorney a user or a filer. That means that they can log in and file things on their own. They have their own login. If you don't make them a user, that just means you're adding them as a record in the system so that you can select them to file on behalf of. You can indicate whether that attorney should receive filing status emails, either the accepted or rejected emails, when you file on their behalf as a support staff user. If you're making them a user, you can also make them a firm administrator. That just gives them a little bit more control over the account. And then you also have the option to make them a service contact. We'll talk more about service contacts as we go through the filing process, but essentially what a service contact is somebody that you can attach to your filing so that when you submit your filing, they'll receive an electronic service notification. In short, this is e-service, and we're going to show you how that works. From here, we'll just click on Save, then we'll land back on our Manage User screen, and you'll see your attorney has been added into the system. You can have as many users in the system as you would like. You'll notice I have a bunch of attorneys here. And if I scroll down, I actually have a bunch of support staff as well. So you can have as many attorneys, as many support staff users in your firm as you'd like. From the screen, you can use the Add Attorney, Add Support Staff links to add whomever you need to. So now I have an attorney. I'm going to go ahead and click back to the dashboard, and then we're going to go ahead and click on Initiate a New Case. So this is going to take us to our new case filing screen. This is designed to be a single screen interface that you just complete step by step. It will dynamically update in order to collect the information we need from you to submit your filing to the court. So the first thing we need to know is, what court are you filing in? So you'll see the first field here is just a list of all the courts currently available for e-filing through green filing. So I'm going to go ahead and start typing Los Angeles. That'll filter my list down, and now I can just select the Los Angeles option I want. So I'm going to do a Los Angeles County civil case. Once I select the court, I'm going to select a case type. So this is a list of all the case types available for e-filing in Los Angeles County Civil. If I start typing a word like collections here, then it'll filter down the list to show me just the collections options. So let's say I'm going to do a collections case. I'll do a limited case. Now, when you select a case in Los Angeles County, they're going to require some additional case data. They want to know the incident zip. This is also going to determine the courthouse that your case will be assigned to. So we can go ahead and enter that. Then they want to know the jurisdictional amount. Is it less than 10,000 or over 10 and up to 25? We'll say less than 10. And then they want to know the exact demand amount. So you'll put your demand amount in there. There's also a checkbox here to request that your case be sealed. It will ultimately be up to the court whether it's sealed or not, but you can make that request with this field. For this one, I'll just leave it as blank. And we'll move on to Section 2. This is where we're going to identify and upload the documents we want to submit to the court that will make up our new case. So the first thing I need to do is select the document type. This is a list of all the document types the court's made available for filing a brand new case. For a new civil collections case, most likely I'm filing a complaint, so I'll go ahead and select that. For most documents in Los Angeles County Civil, they don't allow you to provide an additional document description, so we make this field not applicable. For some documents, they do, though, and I'm going to show you what that looks like in a few minutes. So the next step then is going to be actually upload the document that we want to submit to the court. So this is very much like attaching a document to an email. We're just going to click this link here, click to upload. That's going to open the file system on our computer, and we'll navigate to the file that we want to select and upload to the court. Now, a few things to point out here. One, the court does require that we submit to them your documents in a PDF format. So if you convert them to PDF on your own and upload them to us as PDF, that's great. If you want to upload your Word or WordPerfect document, we'll convert that to PDF for you. The other thing to be aware of is some courts do have file size limits in place. Most courts in California have a 25 megabyte file size limit. So if you're filing in those courts, you want to be aware of file sizes. Make sure that you're keeping your file sizes down, particularly if you're scanning documents. Scan in black and white, no higher resolution than 300 dpi. Now, the good news is if you're filing in Los Angeles County civil cases, they have not implemented a file size limit. So you can file as large a document as you want. I will share, though, that if you have a slow internet connection or anything like that, you might have trouble if you're trying to file up extremely large documents. So you want to be aware of that. But green filing and the court system in the LA civil case type can handle pretty much any file size. So for this case, I'm going to navigate my file system. I have my collections folder here, and then I'm going to go ahead and select my complaint that I want to upload. So I have a PDF here. I'm going to go ahead and select that. And you'll notice what happens is we kind of create a line item here showing you the complaint you just uploaded. You'll also notice the file name is a hyperlink. So if you click that hyperlink, it'll open a new browser tab and actually show you the document you've just uploaded. If I close that browser tab, I'm right back to my filing. And you'll notice that the fields here to upload documents are still available. That's because you can upload as many documents as you need to make up your case. So for this case, I'm also going to need a civil cover sheet. So I'm going to go ahead and select that and upload my civil cover sheet. And then maybe I also have something like a summons to go along with this. So I'll go ahead and select my summons and upload that as well. So you can upload as many documents as you need to. Oops, I uploaded the wrong document. So here's a nice feature we can share with you right now. I accidentally uploaded the wrong document. So I'm going to say Edit, Replace Document, select my summons, and that'll just replace the document. So you can upload as many documents as you need to in order to submit your filing to the court. I'll stop with these three, just the complaint, civil cover sheet, and summons, and move on to Section 3. In Section 3, the court requires that we define the parties that are going to make up our case. You'll notice on the right-hand side, there's a little section here that says this case type requires a plaintiff and a defendant party. So we've given you an option here to enter a plaintiff, and then scroll down a bit, and we can enter a defendant. So you can enter a party as a business or an individual. So we'll say this is a business, and maybe it's a company name called Collections Are Us. Now, address information is required if it's a self-represented litigant or a pro se. If you're not a pro se, if you're represented by attorney, which probably most of you will be in terms of filing, you'll all be attorneys filing, then address is not required. You can actually just click this address unknown and that'll go away. And then you can select your representing attorney. As long as you select a representing attorney, then address information is not required. Now, when filing in Los Angeles County civil cases, the fee exemption works a little bit differently. You have to request that at the party level. You'll see this fee exemption field here. So if I'm requesting a fee exemption for this party, I would use this field and select fee waiver. Now notice what happens when I do that. When I select fee waiver, the system is then going to tell me if you're asking for a fee waiver, you need to upload your request to fee waiver court fees document, or your request to waive court fees document. So if I close this, it takes me back to my document section and I get the thing in here, request to waive court fees. So I'd have to upload that. So be aware, if you're requesting a fee waiver, you'll have to have the documents to go along with it. If you're a government entity, then you just indicate that here. Then the clerk will review your filing, make sure you're a government entity, and if you're good to go, then the fees will be waived. For this one, I'm not going to do any fee waiver. I'll just leave it as none. And then for interpreter, they do allow you to indicate an interpreter if your party needs an interpreter. We'll just leave that as none as well. So I'll go ahead and move on to the defendant. Maybe this is last name Smith, first name James. And we can enter a defendant. The court does not require address information for defendants either. You'll also notice there's an add party and copy last party link down here. If I click add party, this just gives us a whole new section where we can define a new party. I could say it's a plaintiff, or I could say it's another defendant. If I click this remove party link, that'll take it away. There's also a copy last party. This is meant to be a fast way of adding new parties. Maybe I was going to name James Smith's wife as a defendant as well. So I could say copy last party. It's just going to copy James Smith, and maybe I'm going to call this Ann Smith. So just a very fast way of adding an additional party. Again, remove party would take it away. For this example, I'll just stick with one plaintiff and one defendant. We'll move on to Section 4. In Section 4, we're just going to indicate the party we're filing on behalf of. So for a brand new case, most likely I'm filing on behalf of the plaintiff, so I'll go ahead and select that. Section 5, filing fees. This filing is going to have fees associated with it, so you need to select the payment method. You're going to see your e-check or your credit card option available here. And then if you want to see the exact calculation of fees, you'll click Confirm Fee Calculation. So what's going to happen here is we're going to reach out to the court system. We're going to get a calculation of the fees based on the data that we've provided so far. So what they're telling us is for the complaint, there's a $225 filing fee. For e-filing, the court is charging a $1.75 fee per transaction. They're doing this in the probate case type already. They're going to be doing it in civil, as you can see here, and they're doing it in family court as well. So Los Angeles County charges their own fee of $1.75 for each e-filed transaction. On top of that, you're going to have a provider service fee. This is going to vary depending on the service provider you're using. I know this displays $3.90. That's just because it's a placeholder because we're in our test system. Green Filing is actually charging $7.85 per filing transaction in LA civil cases. That's very competitive among the market, and you'll find it especially so considering the ease of use and the features of Green Filing. On top of that, there's something called a payment service fee. When you e-file, the court is requiring that you pay your court filing fees electronically, either with a credit card or an e-check. Anytime you pay for fees electronically, there are bank processing fees involved. And basically what the court is saying is, we are not willing to eat those processing fees. So what they do, if you're using a credit card, is they tack on roughly 3% onto the total filing fee to cover the bank processing fees. If you use an e-check, and I click Confirm Fee Calculation again, then you'll notice it's just a $1 flat fee. So it can be much cheaper to use an e-check than a credit card, especially if your filing fees are significant. If you're using Green Filing, if you use an e-check, we do also require you give a credit card as a backup. That way, if there's any problem with the e-check and getting the funds, we have the credit card as a backup so that your filing isn't in danger of not being accepted or not being processed by the court. For this example, I'm just going to use a credit card. Oops. So I'll confirm my fees again. And then we'll move on to Section 6, Service Contacts. So, while filing a brand new case, we do give you the option to identify service contacts for the purpose of electronic service. You should know, though, that electronic service does not suffice if your filing requires personal service or service of process. If that is the case, then you should continue to do so by traditional means, having it done personally or using a process server. So that's usually the case with brand new case filings. You could supplement that with electronic service if you choose by adding service contacts at this time. This is also a way where at the very beginning of the case you can attach service contacts so that when you file on the case in the future, you can automatically serve them as well. So if I want to add a service contact, it's very easy to do so. We'll just click Add Service Contact. It's going to bring up a dialog and allows you to select from any of the service contacts that have been created in your firm. So we can just select a couple of these. The other option is we can select a service contact or we can add a brand new service contact. So if we want to define a brand new service contact, we could go ahead and enter their information here. Email address. Administrative copy is actually a field where you can enter a secondary email address or maybe their secretary's email address and then click Add and Attach. So what happens is these three service contacts are now attached to this case. And they will be attached to the case until I remove them. But what also happens is when I submit this filing, an electronic service notification email is going to be generated and sent to each of these contacts. That provides them copies of these documents. These emails are tracked. We know whether or not they've been sent. We know whether or not the service contact has actually opened the document. Now, when you're filing in LA civil cases, these emails are actually generated by your e-filing service provider. If you're filing it into any of the Odyssey eFile California courts, these emails are generated by the courts system. So depending on where you file, it might be generated by a different entity, but the process and the emails are very similar. So those are service contacts. We'll move on to section 7, where we're going to select our filing attorney. So it defaulted to this attorney here because that's who I selected as the representing attorney above, but I could select a different attorney if I needed to. Most of the time you wouldn't need to. Created by is just the person who's logged in doing the filing. Client matter number. This is a field where you can type in your own internal case or file numbers. It is an optional field, but it's a nice way to be able to track your filing against your own internal case or file numbers, client numbers, whatever you might call them. These numbers will display on any receipts generated out of the system, on any reports generated out of the system. So it's an easy way to track your filing against a client and then be able to bill back fees to that client. The next field is called courtesy email notice. This is a field where you can input any list of email addresses you would like, separated by a comma, and Green Filing will generate what we call a courtesy copy email to those email addresses. This is not electronic service. Service contacts are people you intend to serve, opposing counsel, parties on the case, things like that. Courtesy copies are just people you want to let know that you filed this document. Could be your client, could be others in your office, whomever you'd like. We're going to show you what that email looks like as well. Finally, there's a field where you can type any note you want to the court clerk. If there's something about this filing that you need to tell them, something about the way you've uploaded documents or filled out the data you want them to be aware of, and take that into account as they review your filing, this is the place to do that. Only the court clerk will see this note. Finally, we're going to verify everything on our filing is true and correct, and then we'll click Submit Filing. So at this time, we're packaging up all the data and documents we're submitting to the court. Court is going to acknowledge receipt. We will redirect you to our filing status screen. On the filing status screen, you're going to see your filing highlighted as it is here in green. You'll see it has a status of pending, meaning it's pending the clerk's review. And you'll see there's an envelope number assigned. This envelope number is assigned by the court system. You know the court has your filing if you have an envelope number. So very important. It's also the best number to use if you ever need to contact the court directly regarding the status of a filing. So as a result of this filing, there are several email notifications that are generated as well. So what I want to do now is pop over into my email and show you what some of those look like. The first email that you're going to see is a filing submitted email. So this is just a confirmation email that we generate to you, letting you know your filing's been submitted. It's going to say submitted in the subject. It'll have the case name and case number in the subject as well. Unless it's a brand new case, it'll just say submitted because we don't have the case name or case number yet. When you click to open this, you're just going to see a bit of detail. It's going to say submitted and pending the clerk review. It'll have some links back here to view the filing or to view the case if you'd like. And it has a confirmation of the estimated fees. You won't be charged any fees until the court actually accepts your document. So that's a pretty easy one. This is the submitted email. The next email that goes out is the courtesy copy email. So this will be generated and sent to any of the email addresses that you put into that courtesy email notice field. And this is a very simple email. It's just saying, hey, courtesy copy has been sent to you on this filing. If you open this up, it's going to say this attorney here filed documents on this particular case or in this particular court. Here's a bit of detail about the filing. And then attached to the email, they're going to get copies of the documents you filed. So very easy access to show somebody that you just submitted these documents to the court. The next email is going to be an email indicating whether or not your filing has been accepted or rejected. And that'll look like this one here. In the subject line, it'll say accepted or rejected if it was rejected. It'll also have the case name and case number. If it's a brand new case, this will be the first time you're seeing the case assignment of the case number and the case name. If you open this up, first and foremost, you're going to see the filing's been accepted. If we scroll down a bit, we get a bit of detail about the filing. So here's the client matter number that was used, a confirmation of the fees, and the credit card that was used. So this is probably your best version of a receipt that you could easily forward or send to bookkeeping staff, accounting staff, in order to bill back these fees to your client. You'll also notice if there are any hearing dates assigned, that's going to be contained in the email as well. And then finally, you'll notice attached to the email, you're going to have copies of the file stamped documents. So each of the documents that you filed, you're going to get back as file stamped documents. And then also the court sometimes generates some additional documents For example, they've generated here a notice of filing confirmation. So this is just a document letting you know, it's kind of a receipt from the court saying, yep, we received your filing, here's the fees that were paid on it, so on and so forth. And then another document is a notice of case assignment. So in this particular instance, they generated a notice of case assignment, which is also showing you your assigned judge and department. So in addition to getting your file stamped copies back, so this would be one of our file stamped copies, and this doesn't have an actual stamp on it because it was submitted in the test system, but you get your file stamped copies back of the documents you submitted, plus any additional documents the court might generate. You'll also notice in the body of the email, you have a link to the case itself. So if we click this link, this actually opens up a screen in our system that we call the case summary view. This is going to give you a bunch of detail about the case. So it's a way of looking at all the case information without having to go and look it up on the court system or something like that. The court provides us information about all the case detail within the e-filing system. Now, this is not considered the official record of the case. You would still have to go to the court for that information, but hopefully it paints a good enough picture for you so that you can kind of know what's going on in the case. The other thing you'll notice is that the filing ID here is a link. If you click that, that'll open up the filing itself, and it'll show you at the top of the screen the status of the filing. So we see this filing was accepted. We can see now the detail about the filing. The case number is now a link to view the filing or to view the case. Next to each document that we had submitted, there's a filed copy column over here on the right. These icons will open up the file stamped copies of the document. And then if we scroll down to the bottom of the screen, if the court had generated any additional documents, those would display down here along with the receipt. So, for example, that notice of e-filing confirmation, that displays here. That notice of case assignment displays there as well. So any additional documents would display down here. Now the last email I want to show you is the electronic service email. So notice this email here indicates electronic service notification and the case number. So this is the email that the service contacts on the case are going to receive. So any service contacts that you've identified on that case and included for electronic service will receive this email. They'll open it up. They'll see a little bit of information. Okay, this attorney just filed documents in this court. Here's a bit of detail about it. And here's a button to view and to accept service and view the documents. So when they click this button, it's going to launch a browser tab. And then they're going to see basically a little bit of information on the case over here, and then they're going to see a view of the document. From here, they can print this document, they can download this document. There's also a document list on the left. If there were multiple documents, they can switch between documents. So any service contact will be able to access the documents you filed in this way. Once they access these documents, that information is tracked. So if I go back to my filing here, I want to show you, if we scroll back to the service contact section, notice there's now a status column on the right-hand side. We're tracking what's going on with service. So for this person, we know it was sent. For this person, we know that they opened it at this date and time. So that's a nice thing about using the system for electronic service, is you get now to track what's going on with that service. All right, so that's a new case filing and the emails that generate as a result. What I'd like to do now is show you how to file a new document on an existing court case. So if we return to the dashboard, notice right in the middle of the screen, there's a button that says File on Existing Case. So we'll go ahead and click that. Now the nice thing about this is it's almost identical to what we just got done doing, but it's even faster. We don't have to enter all that case type, party information. Now all we have to do is select the case that we're filing on. So this is a list of all the cases that I've added to my e-filing account. All I need to do is simply select the one that I want to file on. Now, if the case that you need to file on is an existing court case, but you've not added it to your e-filing account yet, then that's what this Add a Case link is for. You'll just click that link. That will allow you to select your court and then type in your case number. I'm just kind of making something up here. But as long as your case number and your court are correct, when you click Add a Case, this allows us to reach into the court system, grab that case, display it to you on the screen, and then you can continue on with your filing. For this example, I'll go ahead and select one of my existing cases. You'll see that's going to load into step 1. And then the rest of this looks like very similar to what we just got done doing. So I'm going to select the document type. Maybe I'm filing some sort of motion. So I'll just type motion in here and I'll see all my motion options. Say it's a motion for change of venue. Description is not applicable. So we're going to browse out and select our motion. And again, you can upload as many documents as you need to, as long as you're filing them on this particular case. So maybe I have some sort of memo to support this motion. I'm going to select this option here that says memorandum, and then it has name extension. What that means is this time I can now go ahead and type my name extension in here. So what they want you to do is just continue the title. So if this is memorandum in support of motion, then I'm just going to type in support of motion here. I don't need to retype the word memorandum. And then we can browse out and select our memo. So just like we did previously, you can continue to upload documents, as many documents as you need to, as long as you're submitting them on this case. I'll stop with those two. I'll move on to section 3. In section 3, for each document you've uploaded, the court might require additional information. So you can see for the motion of change of venue, they want to know which party are you filing on behalf of. So I'll go ahead and select that. This red star here means that's the required field. You'll also notice there's a court reservation field. This appears for most motion document types. You cannot reserve a hearing date through the e-filing system. You're going to continue to do that through the court reservation system on the court's website. But if you do that on the court's website, and then you're going to be filing a motion that's related to that hearing that you reserved, you will have received a court reservation number from that system. If you plug that number in here, that means that the fees that you already paid on the court reservation system will not be accrued here again. They're not going to force you to pay those fees again. As long as you have a valid court reservation number, then when you go to calculate fees on this filing, it's not going to charge you again for the motion. Hopefully that makes sense. I'm going to just leave that blank for this filing. For my memorandum, they also know who I'm filing that for. I should also mention that if your party has a fee waiver already, that'll be indicated here. You'll see that your party has a fee waiver, and when you select them, this field will automatically default to fee waiver. There's no need to upload fee waiver documents if the court already knows they have a fee waiver. So then we'll move on to section 4. We'll confirm our fees again. You'll notice on this particular case, so for our fees, we have $60 for the motion, $1.75, so on and so forth. And you'll notice on this case, there's already service contacts attached. We assume you're going to want to serve everybody, so we default them to checked. But it is up to the filer. You could easily uncheck these and not serve anybody, or just serve some of them. For my example, I'll serve all of them. Then we'll go ahead and select our filing attorney again. Client matter number, courtesy email notice, note to clerk, all optional fields. You could put that in if you'd like. Verify everything is good. Submit filing. So again, we're packaging up all the data and documents, submitting to the court. Court will acknowledge receipt. We'll redirect you to our filing status screen. You'll see the filing is pending, the clerk's review, and we should have an envelope number assigned. So again, we see it's highlighted in green, envelope number assigned, and status is pending. So all the same email notifications get generated as a result of this filing. You can monitor your email and kind of track status in that way. But I do want to show you, you can use this filing status screen to track status as well. In fact, if I return here to the dashboard, notice these counts on the right-hand side. I have 325 pending filings, 21 drafts, and 1 rejected. Those match the counts next to my filing status tab. If I click the 325, it's going to show me all my pending filings. The 21, all my draft, the 1, all my rejected. Draft filings are filings that are you've started but not submitted to the court. We get that question a lot, but that's what those are. You can save a filing as a draft at any time and not submit to the court. If you just click filing status here on the left, you're going to see all your filings. You'll also notice on the upper right, there's this filter filings option. You can say, show me all, show me my pending or accepted. You can also do things like, show me all the filings on this particular case. So if you start typing a case number or a case name in there, you can just select that and say, show me all those filings. Or you can say, show me all the filings for a particular attorney. So if I did this attorney here, We see all the filings for that attorney. So lots of different ways to filter this filing status screen. When you're looking at this screen, the filing ID will open your filing. The status is going to say things like pending, accepted, rejected, so on and so forth. The envelope icon here, this means that there were service contacts attached to your filing. If the envelope icon is closed, that means that not everybody has opened the document. I'll show you one where it's opened, which means everybody has opened the document. Then we have date, time, submitted, the case number you filed on. If it's a new case, it'll just say new here. When the court accepts the filing, this will update with your case number, the envelope number, and then our lead document. So the lead document is just the first document you uploaded. It helps you identify on this screen which filing it was. If there were multiple documents uploaded, it'll say something like +2 or +3 more at the end here. So this screen can be a very useful screen to just kind of track the status of your filing. I want to show you quickly a filing where, oh, there was one. So see on this filing, let's do this one. This filing here, this little envelope icon is open. What that means is all the attorneys or all the service contacts that I served on this filing have opened the documents. And I can click on this filing ID and then scroll down to the section of service contacts. Oops. And you'll notice that each document has been opened by the filer. By the service contacts. So that can be a useful feature because there's another feature of the system called create serve only. Let's say you have a need to serve all the parties or all the attorneys on the case, but not file the documents with the court. You can actually do that with the e-filing system using this create serve only feature on the left-hand side. This allows you to basically upload documents for a particular case into the system and submit them so that the system will generate electronic service notification emails, but not file them with the court. And then you can now track whether or not the service contacts have opened those filings. So, for example, if I select my case here, you do have to indicate the case that they're related to. Then you see the document type just defaults to service only. Maybe these are something like discovery documents, so I could type that here, browse out, select my document. And again, you could do more. If you had more, you could upload more, or you could just stick with the one. You select your service contacts that you want to serve these on. You could put a client number if you like, verify all is good, submit. So what we're doing now is we're just submitting these to the system so that the system will generate those electronic service notification emails. You'll see the status on this is just going to say serve only, but now you can open this filing at any time and go down to the status section here and see, okay, these emails have been sent already, but not been opened. So it's a way of using the e-filing system for serving documents on opposing counsel, but not actually filing them with the court. There is no fee for using electronic service, either during the filing process or if you just do a serve only. All right, so with 1 minute to spare, I believe I have covered all the core features that I wanted to cover with you today. We talked a little bit about the background of e-filing, the LA Civil versus the Odyssey e-file California system, some resources available to you. We showed you how to create an account, how to configure your account with payment methods and attorneys so that you may begin filing. Then we did a brand new case filing, showed you all the emails as a result of that filing. We did an existing case filing, and we did a create serve only example. So that's pretty much all the information I have to share with you guys today. What I want to do now, though, is I want to go ahead and answer any questions that have been submitted. And then I want to take a few moments to show you some additional features of the system. I realize we are at the end of the hour, so if you do have to exit the webinar, feel free to do so. You'll still get your certificate of attendance. But if you can hang out with us for a few more minutes, we'd love to have you, and we'll do some Q&A, and we'll show you a few different features of the system. So let's see. I'm looking here to see if any questions have been posed. And I'm actually shocked at the moment that I have 0 questions on the board. So I'm going to give you guys 1 or 2 minutes to pose some questions here before I move on. I'm sure there's got to be some out there. Okay, here we go. We got a couple rolling in. So first question, what is the turnaround time for filings? Great question. So it can be anywhere from a few minutes to a few hours to a full business day. It's going to depend on the court you're filing in. What I want to make sure that you're aware of is just as e-filing is new to you, it's equally as new to the court, especially in Los Angeles County Civil. So with their mandatory e-filing coming up next week, there's going to be some growing pains on their end. They're going to be trying to figure out how to do things. So I would say definitely be patient. You're probably going to see filings take longer than usual to get filed. But as time goes on, it'll get faster and faster. But typical turnaround can be anywhere from a few minutes to 24 hours. I know the court is trying to get everything filed the same day, processed in the same day. But, they're not always able to do that. Okay, any special rules for attachments? So if you're filing a pleading, let's say you have a motion with some exhibits, which maybe would be considered attachments, you can file that motion with exhibits all and combine them all in a single PDF. In fact, that's what the LA court would prefer, and submit them to the court as a single PDF. The courts do say they want you to bookmark documents that have things like exhibits in them, which means you can use Adobe Pro to create bookmarks or quick links to each exhibit within the document. We have some help articles on our website to show you how to do that. The courts do say that they require that. What I'll share with you is that I don't think they can require it. I don't think their software allows them to tell when they're reviewing the filing if they're bookmarked or not. And we do see filings accepted every single day that are not bookmarked. But the judges would prefer they be bookmarked. So other than that, I don't think there's any other special rules for attachments to documents. What are the fees after we pay the CRS online? So I think what you mean is if you pay, if you reserve a hearing date using the court reservation system online, and let's say you pay $60, then when you go to e-file, as long as you put in that number for the court reservation system, the receipt number, it's not going to charge you that $60 again. So if you were filing a motion, that $60 would be waived. You would still be paying any e-filing service fees. Question, what about statute filings? So I think, let me know if I'm interpreting this question correctly, but what I think you mean is what about filings where you're filing on the last day to meet statute of limitations? So your filing deadline is today. So in those instances, a couple things. One, you now have until midnight to file those documents. They don't have to be filed until 5 p.m. As long as you get them filed before midnight, even if the court clerk doesn't review and accept them until tomorrow, you'll still get today's filing date. I don't recommend waiting until midnight. Any number of issues could come up to have you where you could have problems filing, but that is an option now. I'm going to guess that the follow-up question is going to be, what if I file it today, they don't review it till tomorrow, and it gets rejected tomorrow? And that is always a concern of filers when, so in other words, you rejected tomorrow, now you missed your last day. And that is always a concern of filers anytime e-filing is implemented. We've always asked the court to adopt some sort of policy or procedure to address that, and they never do. All I can tell you is while everybody worries about it, I've not known of one instance where it's become a problem. The nice thing about the e-filing system is you can show that you submitted it on this date and the clerk rejected it for this date for some silly reason, and then you resubmitted it on this date based on their rejection. And ultimately, when you're able to show that, it's up to the judge whether they're going to allow that filing or not. So all I can do is share with you my experience that has never become an issue, even though everybody is really worried about it. So I'll leave it at that. But I don't recommend waiting until the last minute to get your last day filings in. And then hopefully they'll be reviewed by the clerk on the same day. All right. Let's see, we got a few more questions here. Okay. So electronic service. If it is something to be served personally, does this waive the personal service requirement? So no. I tried to explain that during the filing process. E-service does not suffice for personal service or service of process. If your filing requires that, which most new case filings do, you don't want to, you can use e-service as a supplement to that, but it won't replace that. So you're going to want to continue to have those served by traditional means, by a process server or however you might do it. I'm not quite sure what this question means. It says procedure to upload custom prepared documents. I'm not quite sure what that means, but it's not any different. You can prepare any pleading you'd like on your own. In terms of uploading it, it's no different than any other document, whether it's a court form, a free form pleading, or any other document. They're all uploaded in the same way. If you want to clarify a bit more for me on that, I'm happy to try and answer further. So next question, what hour of the day is the cutoff to be considered? Oh, we covered that. So you have until midnight now. And yes, that is addressed in court rule and the Civil Code of Procedure. So be on the lookout for that. Okay, next question. On the service by email or electronic service, a party may be adversarial and refuse to open the first complaint email. This might lead to evasion of process when personal service is attempted. Is it a good practice not to include certain parties? Okay, so I get what you're saying. If you include somebody as a service contact on your complaint for electronic service and they receive their electronic service, okay, now they're aware that somebody's going to be coming to try and serve a complaint on them, so they're going to try to evade that. Yes, that is a definite risk. So it's completely up to you whether you want to include them on e-service on a new case filing. What we do see most often on new case filings is that you don't add your defendants for e-service, you add yourself. That way you're now attached to the case so that when others or when you file on the case in the future, you see that you're available there to be served as well. But that's a good point. I mean, that can definitely happen. Questions. I have a few questions regarding consent or agreement to electronic service. What I want to do is refer you all rather than me answer that question for you, because as the attorney, it is up to you to make sure that service is performed and is it performed in the manner that is valid. And that is all addressed in the court rule and in the Civil Code of Procedure. So as the attorney, I want you to review that information and make your own legal interpretation. Many would say that if people are participating electronically and participating in electronic service, then they're agreeing to electronic service. But there's also a court form for formal agreement of electronic service. But I want to refer you to the rule and have you, as the attorney, make that legal determination on your own. All right, so final question, how do you deal with rejects? So it's actually pretty easy. If you have a rejected filing, you're going to receive an email and it'll indicate the filing's been rejected. And in the email, it will also give you a rejection reason. So you're going to know what happened and what needs to be corrected. Now, the nice thing is if you're using green filing, you can simply click on the filing ID in that email to open that specific filing, make whatever corrections need to be made, and resubmit. So it's actually really fast to correct a rejected filing and resubmit it. It could be you need to upload a new document or just fix a piece of data on the filing and resubmit. All right, somebody asked, can you e-file until midnight? I think we covered that, but yeah, you have up until midnight now to e-file. In fact, you can e-file 24/7. We had filings last night filed at 1, 2, 3 in the morning. But you have up until midnight today if you want today's file date. If you file on a weekend or on a holiday, it's not considered, or the file date will be considered the next business day. All right, so that's the questions that have been posed thus far. I just want to take a few minutes now, if you can hang out a couple minutes longer, just to show you a couple additional features of the system. We spent all of our time in the e-filing tab here. I want to point out, if you go to the Settings tab, this is where you can manage all of your account information. Under the account information, you can update your address information. You could set an email address where you want carbon copies of all emails we generate sent to. A lot of firms have like a central mailbox they want copies of all emails sent to, so you could set that here. You can also set a client matter number be required for your firm. So if you want everybody in your firm to always have to enter a client matter number, this is a place to do that. If you want to edit user information, as a logged in user, you can edit your own information. You can turn on or off getting emails regarding accepted or rejected emails, or accepted or rejected filings. A lot of people like not to get the emails and just use the system. They'll log in and check the filing status screen. A lot of people do like the emails, so you have the option here. Change password, pretty self-explanatory. Manage users, we went over this earlier. You can have as many users in the system as you'd like. Payment settings, again, you can have as many payment settings as you'd like. So you can use your own firm payment settings, e-check, credit card. You can also enter client credit cards if you have clients who want to pay their own fees. User preferences, I encourage you to check this out. There's lots of different user preference options here. We can determine how things display to you in the system. You can turn on and off certain email notifications. So I just encourage you to read through these and play around with them. Service contacts, anytime you create a service contact, that information is saved on the service contact screen. If anything changes about that service contact, you can update their information here, and that will update across all the cases that they're attached to. You'll notice if I click on edit here next to one of these service contacts, we also include their full address information. This is actually in anticipation of a feature we're planning to offer soon, which would allow you not only to request electronic service, but service by U.S. mail or by certified mail. And that's where we'd actually print documents and stuff envelopes for you and send those out. Of course, there would be additional postage and handling fees for that. But that's a feature we're planning on offering, so be on the lookout for that in the next couple of months here. Finally, there's this party address book. I did not mention this during the filing process, but as you enter a party's information, there's a checkbox that says Save to Address Book. The nice thing about doing that is if, for example, you file on behalf of the same party often, maybe you file a lot of debt collection or unlawful detainer cases where you often have the same plaintiff. If you save them to your address book, then rather than having to enter their information every single time, you simply start to type the first few characters of their name, and you'll see them pop up as a party that you can select rather than retype. If we go to reports, there are a bunch of reports you can run out of the system. The most common one is this filing activity report. You can run this for any date range. So you can just select your date range here. I'll kind of expand mine a bit. And then you're going to see a report of all your filings for that date range. And you can see there's quite a bit of data about each filing. Probably the thing you might be most interested in is the client matter number and the fees that were charged. So you can bill back fees to this particular client. Any of these reports can be downloaded to Excel or PDF using these icons here next to the report title. So if I select Excel, this will download to Excel. And of course, when I have it in Excel, I can now start to filter it, sort it, format it in whatever way I'd like. Then you can save it to your computer, share it with others in your firm, whatever you want to do. There are a couple other reports here. One is filing activity per case. This is very similar, except what we're going to do is we're going to group your filings by case instead of just give you a giant list. So for this case, here's your filings. Here's one with a little more. For this case, here's your filings. And then we have a subtotal for each case. And again, these can be downloaded to Excel or PDF. There's also filing activity by client. So rather than group by case, we're going to group by client. So you can run this report, and if you've been using that client matter number field, we can group your filings by client. And again, we can give subtotals for each client. Another report is called Filing Activity by Payment Account. This is a little bit different. It's going to show you your filings grouped by the payment method you use. The intent here is so that you can easily use this report to reconcile fees against your bank statement or your credit card statement. So for this credit card, here's the filings that were done for this date range, and you can look at the fees and reconcile those statements. Finally, there's just this case list report. This is just going to show you a list of all the cases on your e-filing account. If you have a need to print this out or download it to Excel, it shows you your case number, case title, what court it's in, and client matter number if you've assigned that as well. Last, we have this account tab. This account tab will only be seen by firm administrators, gives them a little bit more control over the account. They can delete payment methods, delete users. There's a few other things they can manage that a typical user would not be able to. All right. So I just quickly wanted to run through those few additional features so that you're just kind of familiar with those. I think that's it. I think that's all I have to share with you all today. I've kept you almost 20 minutes beyond the hour, so I don't want to keep you any longer. I want to thank you for having attended this webinar. I want to encourage you to reach out to us if you have any questions at all. You can call us, email us, use the live chat on our website. Be on the lookout for both the certificate of attendance and for the written responses to questions and the copy of this PowerPoint. If you don't have those within the next 24 hours, go ahead and send me an email. I'll make sure that you get a copy of all those. With that, once again, thank you all for having attended this webinar. Hope you have a great rest of your day.